All right, let's dive right in. Today, we're going to tackle a question that a lot of communities are facing. Should a city take over its local utility district? We're going to cut right through the chatter and get straight to the numbers that matter.
So, is it a good idea? It's a real conversation happening in a lot of places right now. Now, from the city's point of view, it might be about long-term planning or unifying services. But let's be honest, for residents like you, the conversation almost always comes down to one simple thing. Is this going to save me money? And the answer, well, it's not as simple as you might think.
I mean, the common thinking makes a lot of sense on the surface, right? You combine two things into one, you create efficiencies, you save money. It just feels logical. But the question is, does it actually work out that way in reality?
To get to the real story, we have to push that assumption aside for a minute. The entire financial truth of the situation really hinges on one single number.
And here it is, $1,745,000. This is the total outstanding debt that the municipal utility district still owes. Now, this isn't just a number on a spreadsheet. It's a legal obligation. It has to be paid. And honestly, it's the key to understanding everything else we're about to talk about. Okay, so let's get into it. Before we can even think about the future, we have to get a really clear picture of the MUD's finances as they are right now. And that all starts with understanding this debt. What you're looking at here shows that this isn't some new, scary debt that just popped up. It's a mature, well-managed plan. The MUD's been paying this down for a long time. And as you can see, there is a very clear finish line in sight. This entire debt is scheduled to be completely wiped out by 2032. In this donut chart, it shows you exactly what that debt is made of. It's really two different bond series. See that smaller piece? That's from 2005, and it's going to be paid off in just a couple of years. The bigger chunk, from 2012, is what makes up the rest, and it's on a steady, predictable track to be retired by 2032. So you're probably wondering, how is this debt getting paid? It's through something called a debt service tax. And this part is absolutely crucial. This is a special, dedicated tax. The money it collects is legally locked down. It can only be used for one thing, paying off these specific bonds. It can't be diverted to salaries or new projects. And the best part? The second that debt hits zero, this tax, poof, it vanishes completely.
So let's explore our first possible future. We'll call this Path 1, the status quo. This is our baseline. It's what happens if the community just decides to let the MUD keep on its current path, no changes at all.
In this scenario, the future is incredibly clear. The debt payments just keep on chugging along like clockwork. That balance goes down every single year. By 2032, it's totally gone, and that debt tax disappears from everyone's property tax bills forever. The financial risk here is about as low as it gets because it's a known quantity, it's predictable, and it's totally transparent. Now, for the other path, annexation. This one isn't a straight line. It's more like a puzzle, you know? We have to figure out where all the money, and specifically that big chunk of debt, actually moves if the city takes over. And here we are. This is the single most important fact in this whole conversation. Annexing the MUD does not, I repeat, does not make that $1.745 million just vanish into thin air. The people who loan that money, the bondholders, they have a legal contract. That money has to be paid back, no matter who is steering the ship. So if the debt doesn't disappear, how do you deal with it? Legally, there are only three ways to solve this puzzle. Let's look at them. Option A, the residents in the old MUD just keep paying it directly. Option B, the city formally takes on the debt itself. Or option C, someone writes a giant check and pays it all off early. That's it. Those are the choices. This slide shows what happens in the most common scenario, which is option A. So on the left, you see your current bill. On the right, after annexation, yeah, you're paying city taxes now. But, and this is the key part, you are also still paying that old MUD debt tax. So you've really just swapped one operating tax for another, and you've kept the debt tax. Right out of the gate, there are no immediate savings.
This really brings us to the heart of the matter. If annexation doesn't get rid of the debt, then what really changes? And just as important, what stays exactly the same?
The reality is, running a water utility has these fundamental costs that are just fixed. They don't care who's in charge. You still have to buy the water. You still have to pay the people who run the system. You still have to fix pipes when they break and meet all the same safety rules. These expenses exist whether it's a MUD board or a city council signing the checks.
This is the one phrase to remember from all of this. Seriously, the financial obligations don't disappear. They just get moved around. The money has to come from somewhere. Costs shift, they don't vanish.
Now, here's another really critical difference. A MUD's finances, they operate kind of like a protected account. Every single dollar it collects from you, whether it's from taxes or your water bill, is legally restricted. It has to be used for the water and wastewater system. That's it. This setup creates a super clear and transparent financial picture.
A city, on the other hand, usually has what's called a general fund. And you can think of that like a big checking account for everything. Revenue from the utility can get mixed in with property taxes and sales taxes, and then used to pay for parks or roads or other city departments. This is where that cost shifting we talked about really happens, and it can make it much, much harder for you to see the true cost of just your water service.
So, with all this laid out, what's the single most important thing to take away from all this? Well, it all boils down to one powerful question. A question that you, as a resident, have every right to ask about any annexation proposal.
This is it. This is the question that cuts through all the noise and all the promises. Who, specifically, is on the hook for paying off that remaining $1.7 million in debt, and what is the exact legal mechanism for doing it?
And a vague, oh, we'll figure it out later answer just doesn't cut it. A complete, serious proposal must have a detailed, legally sound, and written down plan for that debt. If it doesn't, you're just not seeing the whole picture. And that leaves all of us with this one final question to think about. It really is the core choice. On one hand, you've got the status quo, a known, predictable cost that you know for a fact is going to disappear in a few years. On the other hand, you have annexation, a path with a lot more variables, potentially less transparency, and an unknown financial outcome. That is the real decision on the table.